Hey fellow woodcutters, TopSaw here. Going to do a really quick Mother's Day project out of a piece of scrap wood. It should only take a few hours to get that bottom spoon. You could see three examples here. The top one is pine, that probably took about 15 minutes. Poplar in the middle, and then here's A work right here. Cherry alder glue lamb, nicely sanded, nicely shaped, very symmetrical. Really beautiful project. Mom's going to love it. There's my wood template right there. I'll put a link to it in the description. Here's a piece of pine that we're going to make the spoon out of, just an offcut. You're going to rip to a little bit wider than the template, and then once you're done ripping, you're going to cross cut to length. You're really looking for a really nice, clean, straight grain with no knots, no twists and twirls. The harder the wood, the longer it's going to take to carve. Next step is to trace the template onto the board. You're really looking for symmetry, so you really kind of want to make sure it's a perfect mirror image on the left side and the right side. This is probably 13/16 pine. It just needs to be a little bit more than 3/4 of an inch if you want to get any soup with this thing. After you trace the template, draw the inside, the actual pocket you're going to cut out. That's about a 1/2 inch offset. Before you cut the spoon out, you really want to do all your carving on the pocket. So we're using curved gouges here. Some of them are 1 3/4. Clamp it down really well and make sure you never carve any direction except for away from yourself. Here's a poplar one getting carved. First thing you do is you have to cut straight down the outside outline of the pocket. If you don't do that, you're going to splinter it all out. So you want to carve down and then carve away from yourself, removing material. There's no rush, nice and gentle carving strokes, and it'll come out nice. Once the pocket is cut with the gouges, put a flap wheel on the drill and start sanding it out, working on consistency. I'll put a link to the flap wheels in the description. After that pocket is all done exactly the way you want it and it's nice and smooth, over to the bandsaw, cutting the project out, making sure the bandsaw blade is outside of the lines. From the bandsaw, when you're all done cutting it out as close as you could get it, to the disc sander, where you're going to sand all of the convex curves, making sure you move it around so you're not burning the material or using up the sandpaper. Over to the spindle sander to sand out the concave curves. So keep it moving, keep the sandpaper clean. Again, never use any of these tools unless you've been trained on them. Hold your material flat down on the tabletop. Once you're cut out and sanded down to the lines, and you're going to use a round over a bit on all 4 edges, this really helps to keep everything consistent, making sure the material is flat down on the tabletop, and you're using hold down sticks to hold it down. Keep your fingers far and away from the cutter at all times. After all 4 edges are routed, back to the oscillating spindle sander, and you're really working on consistency. You're going to do 1 pass on one edge, or 2 passes on one edge, reverse it, and then do 2 patches on the opposing edge. Don't go crazy, don't start putting deep grooves in there, just kind of gently trying to get it to work it towards round. Over to a random orbital sander. This is a 5-inch random orbital sander, and you're really going to try and work towards making the whole handle round, and then it's nice and smooth. You could actually do a lot with this, keeping your fingers away from the sanding disc. When you feel like it's near perfect, then you're going to start hand sanding, probably starting with like a 150 grit, 180, 220, and you could even go all the way up to 300 grit. Just keep sanding it, working for consistency and that the whole thing is round. It's going to take a little time inside of the pocket. The more you sand, the nicer it's going to come out. If you're new to this channel, think about subscribing. This channel is TopSaw, all things wood. I do tree work and teach high school wood shop. Here are the finished spoons right here. That top pine one you probably get done in about 40 minutes or less. The middle poplar one, you could really get that thing done in about 1.5 hours. And then that one at the bottom, that's going to take some sanding and some attention to detail. The more time you put into it, the more beautiful it's going to be. Sure hope you enjoyed the video. Please comment below if you have any other tips or tricks, not only for all other viewers, but for my students as well. Thank you for watching.